Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the Pompously Political Podcast where we're a little bit pompous. Means we're assholes. We're talking about politics and stuff in the news, and tonight we've actually got a special edition. We're going to go into a little bit of an LGBT discussion. Why? Because we've already done it. Well, we didn't do it good enough, so we're going to do it again. As always, I am your fearless, brave, undaunted co-host, Scott, and I am joined by...
You are joined by your gallant, almost white knight-esque co-host.
Definitely got the white down.
Yeah. It was like the time I auditioned for Twilight, and they're like, too white.
Too much sparkles. Too much.
Yeah. You make the vampires look like they're tan. So,
look, you're making the vampires look gay. All right, we can't have that.
Yeah. You twinkle too much. So, did I say my name? See, I've already fucked it up. I'm on the other end, and I fucked it up. But
I don't remember.
Of course, I'm gallant, I'm pale, and I am Jimmy, and I am a co-host. So yeah, there we go. I fucked it up from my end. Man, I just can't win.
You didn't struggle as much this time, though, which is good. So we've got some interesting stuff this week. Not a huge week in news, but just some stuff that's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to talk about because there's really not much more to go into. But today, actually, did you know that there is a lawsuit against Uber by its employees?
I did not, Scat. What does this lawsuit entail?
There is, and it was granted class action status today, which is huge. And basically what the lawsuit covers is the way Uber's business model works. And I'll admit, I've looked into being an Uber driver just for some money on the side, because, why not? But Uber doesn't view the drivers as employees. They're contractors. If you know anything about the world of contracting, there's a lot of freedoms for the company that comes with that, as far as not having to pay for all the stuff that you have to pay for with a normal, regular employee. But they also don't cover any vehicle expenses. No gas, no wear and tear, no maintenance, nothing. That's all out of pocket. So you do all these. You're basically a taxi driver that doesn't get any of the benefits of being a taxi driver. Where
you get no benefits.
The company, you get no benefits at all. So the employees got together and they sued, and they found that it was a good enough case to grant class action status, I guess, with enough participants, that if they win, there's going to be some substantial back payment given to the drivers, as well as basically if they win, it's going to deem Uber's business model illegal. So they're either going to have to seriously restructure everything about how they do everything and try to survive, or that's just it. That's the death of Uber, and Lyft will not be far behind because they operate in the exact same way.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I also heard something about HP adopted a similar business model, where they've had to downsize because of financial difficulties, and so instead of laying off a good chunk of their employees, they gave them the option to either be hired on as a contractor, much like how an Uber driver is, and have no benefits, or be fired with no severance. That's kind of the option. So, which dick do you want to be fucked by today? That's your choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
Have you ever been a contractor for a company like that?
Oh, no, of course not.
So when I started with this company I'm at now, I started as a contractor, and it's a really weird setup. So the way that it was working, my company contracts for companies on a large scale, but then a lot of the work that they contract, they then subcontract. So it's like a company A subcontracts to us, who then subcontracts to another company, who we've even had them subcontract to another company. And in order to do that, that should tell you right there is a huge profit margin that they're able to play with, still pay these fees and be profitable. So hypothetical numbers, whenever I was a contractor, had I been an employee of the company, they would have charged $40 per hour for my work. And then in turn, they would have paid me probably about $30 an hour when you add in benefits and everything. And again, all hypothetical numbers, loosely based in a real scenario. Well, then they take, rather than pay me $30 an hour, they have a contracting company. They pay them $25 an hour for a contractor to come in, and then the contract company pays that contractor, the 15 or the 20 an hour, whatever it is. So everybody takes a piece of it as they go. It's just they cut out things. So you can still get benefits as a contractor through your contracting company if they offer that. And some don't, some do. You can get it on your own on the side. You just aren't entitled to the benefits that come with being a employee of the main company. Just for example, one of the things that impacted our project, we had 180 employees. Of those, 160 were contractors. And so the 20 people that were brought over to the actual company that became employees, like me, we were given access to anything. We could do whatever we wanted on the business campus that was there. Contractors couldn't. They had no access to the gym. Any of the other facilities that were there, they could use the lunch room, the cafeteria they had there. That was it. They had no access to anything else. So it's just even in little things like that. But so that's the world of contracting. You basically get shafted. Sometimes you get a little bit better pay. I know in the scenario I gave that wasn't the case, but most of the time you'll get better pay per hour because they're cutting all that other stuff that you would be getting out of it. So while you may have more take-home money, you don't have as much worth, I guess, out of all of it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've never worked contract work, at least yet. We'll see. We'll see what's in the future.
I would avoid it if you could, but it is the wave of the future. I mean, it's becoming immensely popular.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? Well, just simply because I'll be working in the field of like museums and education and so forth. So unless they're contracting out teachers or or museum curators and workers, and who knows?
I want to say they might actually be contracting subs now. So getting your foot in the door, you might have to deal with it.
Maybe. I don't know. Future is scary in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have hoverboards. Sometimes they have scary things like less pay and less benefits.
Speaking of pay.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sorry, did you have something else?
Oh no, I was going to segue, and you did it for me beautifully. It was admirable.
I did. I want to give you a story.
Okay.
Which really brings my support for $15 an hour into question. Because I've heard a couple words thrown around this last week about living wage as opposed to a minimum wage, whereas the whole push for $15 is really to just get the minimum wage to a livable wage if you were employed as a full-time employee and that was what you were making. Granted, assuming you had left your parents' house, you were living on your own, something where you actually deserved to make $15 an hour. So we went through McDonald's, and this is always the restaurant everybody loves to go to when they give examples on this, but we went to McDonald's. We went through the drive-thru, and it was a very simple order. A large sweet tea, 2 apple pies. Sweet tea for us to split, and Melissa's pregnant, so she craves those apple pies all the time. And they handed us the bag, and there's a tag right where you open it, so you can't miss it. It's right there. It's as you're going to eat the damn thing. It has the expiration on it. And this was about the fourth McDonald's in a row we'd gone to in the past week or two, where they had given us one that had been expired, according to that tag. And we hadn't really minded too much up to that point. It had been maybe 10, 15, maybe I think 30 minutes at the most, but this one was about 2.5 hours over. So it clearly should have been thrown away by their own standard. This is not me arbitrarily saying something that, oh, well, I think you didn't cook this soon enough. No, your company put this on there that says that it should be thrown away after this. So this is you. This is not me. So we get this one, and it's about 2.5 hours old. So Melissa's like, no, I'm tired of getting these old ones. I want to get a fresh one. All right, not a problem. Pull out the side because we're going to drive through. I go inside. I hand her the apple pie. Said, hey, this is expired. Can you get us a good one? She's like, yeah, no problem. And she walks over. She throws mine away. She opens up the apple pie thing and starts going through them and is just tearing through all of them. Can't find one that's not expired. Well, that's a bad sign. And then she shouts in the back, and there is what I can only relate to as watching two Neanderthals trying to communicate, one in Chinese and one in Latin. That's about what happened. Because it was like, do we have apple pies? Apple pies? I don't know. Are there any up front? Well, I just checked. That was the conversation. It was that slow. Like it didn't need to be that slow. But anyways, so this goes on for literally 5 minutes while I'm standing there, just jaw on the floor, like I cannot believe what I'm watching here. They get to the end of it, and basically it's either wait, depending on who you talk to, it was either 10 minutes or 15 minutes for a new set of apple pies, or they can just give me one of the expired ones. And I was not waiting 15 minutes for fucking apple pie. We were already late for something at that point anyways. So I was like, you know what? Just give me one of the expired ones. Whatever. I'm done trying. And she walks over and she hands me one. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Expiration on this is at 6:15 that night. And I hold it up and look at her. I was like, this is not expired. How is this difficult? It's been here the whole time. And these are the people that think they're entitled to $15 an hour.
Oh my God.
You can't even... Words are hard. If you cannot operate, if you cannot make your brain function in a kindergarten level basic manner, you do not need $15 an hour. You need to go educate yourself and spend less time watching the Kardashians and more time studying a math class. I don't know, stare at a clock, figure out how it works. You don't need $15 an hour.
So what you're saying is that if we are to raise this minimum wage, then we should tie it to something, an incentivized sort of system. So, okay, you want $15 an hour, perhaps you have to attend school. Like you have to provide verification that you are educating yourself or something. So,
or that you're not living with your parents, or that you have finished high school,
right,
or that
right.
you're enrolled in something other than you're the dude that just turned 16 and you think that you need $15 an hour so you can take all your ladies out. Like, you don't need $15. We don't need to put businesses under so that that kid can make $15 an hour.
Hey man, I was 16 once, and man, I would love to get that much money when I was 16.
My God, the minimum wage when I was 16 was like $5.85 or something.
Yeah, it was something like it was crazy.
Paychecks like $100 a week. Ugh.
See, the thing is like, I can see both sides of the argument. Like, yeah, an apple pie person who can't figure out the expiration date that's clearly outlined in their company's policy. I hope she was like relatively new. You know what I mean? Like, I hope she was like a couple weeks on the job, maybe. Never touched the apple pie thing. Like, they were just like, hey Julie, can you work on apple pie duty today? And she's like, I've never done it before. Oh, you'll figure it out. Like, that's what I imagine, you know. And then fucking Neanderthal guy in the back's just like, I don't know, just he's like the cleaning guy or something. Who knows? She's like, oh, who should I ask? I don't know, the custodian, the guy that's cleaning up the bathroom right now. Hey man, do you know how to work this apple pie thing? What does it mean when it has 6 p.m. on it?
Well, and the best part was when they were talking. I couldn't really hear what they were saying. I just caught apple pie every now and then. But they were talking in like hushed voices, still very slowly. But every like sentence or two, like one of them would like look back at me, like, is he still watching? Is he still there? Shit. Let's keep going. Let's try to figure this out. Is he still there? Fuck, he's really gonna make us figure this out.
Kind of like two kids on the playground when you know that they're up to something, and it's
Yeah.
like, but they're not gonna play normal around you because they know you're watching. They're like, is my parents still watching? Okay. Let's just act like we're playing nice. Is he still watching? Okay, he's not watching, and he beats the shit out of each
You pull your
other.
pee out.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. I'm sorry you guys couldn't get your apple pies fresh. But I mean, it is McDonald's, for crying out loud, though. I didn't know there was expiration dates. Like, I'm sure deep down I knew that there was expiration dates on those apple pies, but I never thought to look at it until you actually mentioned it. I was like, shit, yeah, those things do have a shelf life.
There is a certain degree of leniency I'm willing to give a McDonald's.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
Like, if you give me a medium fry instead of large, I kind of expect you to do that. I'm not demanding perfection, but this was just so far beyond ridiculous. And I'm not like one of those customers like, you will, I said no pickles, and there is pickle juice. You will remake me a whole meal. I'm not that guy.
I
Just
smelled pickles.
like I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be all uppity and shit. But come on, this is not a hard job.
Right. Oh, look, this is the thing, man. I worked at a Jack in the Box. I don't know if you have Jack in the Box in Florida.
I've had them in other parts of the country.
Jack in the Box, much like McDonald's, is not known for its quality. It's good for quantity. You can get 2 tacos for 99 cents, and hell, if you're drunk in the middle of the night, 2 tacos for 99 cents, fucking double down on that shit. Get like 20 of those things. You're only spending. You got a car full of drunk people, $20 amongst yourselves, and you're feeding yourselves like you're eating like kings. I worked there for about 2 weeks.
Oh wow!
And I hated it. Yeah, I worked there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks longer than I should have worked there because intellectually, I was a lot smarter than the people that were around me when I worked there. And the problem with it was that like any job that you have to wear shoe condoms so you don't slip around because there's so much shit on the floor, you're like, this can't be sanitary. This can't be. Because I had to have little slippers that go over my shoes when I went to work, and I always smelled like French fries, and yeah, so I quit. I was like, I'm done with this place. My boss called me and was like, "Are you coming to work?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not coming. I'm gonna look for another job," because it was just terrible. They could never figure out anything right. God forbid you get an order. Like, okay, if you've ever worked in fast food. I don't know. Have you worked in fast food too, man?
Yeah, I actually worked at Dairy Queen for a year.
Oh, okay. You did it a year. Wow.
I did, and I thought I was clever when I quit because I asked for these specific days off. It was like I have like band practice on this because I was in high school when I did it. Those had like band practice on this day, and I've got church trip on this day, and I planned it out for 2 weeks, and I asked for all these days off in 2 weeks. And she's like, "Well, so you're just not going to work for 2 weeks?" I was like, "Right." So this is also my 2-week notice.
Which basically means go fuck yourself. I quit.
I quit.
That's beautiful. I love that. What was I? Oh, okay. So it's on the screen, right? Whenever you're at fast food, it's always on the screen. You have like a make chart and stuff like that of what you got to build and so forth. And so yeah, it's not hard. It's like what goes on a hamburger. The basic components of a hamburger, right? Yeah, a cheeseburger even. Okay, cheese is in the word, burger's in the word, so 2 of those items are going to be in there, cheese and burger. Okay, so what do you put the burger on? Okay, you put it on bread. There's the 3 items that make up the 1 item. So half your job is made right there. Okay, what do you got on there? Okay, lettuce, tomato, pickle, whatever the fuck they want on their hamburger. It's simple. It's an easy type job. But in places like Jack in the Box when I worked there, it'd be like, this person said no onions, and you put onions on it. And now I have to go back and fucking fix the error that you made because you put onions on it. Like, how is that a workable, efficient business model if you have Joe Schmo that can't even figure out how to not, when it says no onions, the N-O that's preceded the onions part means don't put it on there. Why are you putting the onions on it?
Maybe they're dyslexic, and it's like on Shunshins, and they're like, oh, that must mean onions. They want onions.
Why is the screen asking me for my opinion? I don't know. Oh, goodness gracious. So yeah, so I agree in certain instances, maybe $15 an hour is a little high. But
what if they went to 15 an hour? Hypothetically, they're going to have to find a way to stay in business. So, like you're mentioning all those errors. What if the standard for being employed at McDonald's suddenly requires like a college degree? Like you want $15 an hour, you need a degree. We're not going to tolerate mistakes here anymore.
Just imagine.
Can you imagine that?
I'm trying to imagine right now. I'm just imagining being in like a college class. You know, the teacher's like, "So what are you here for?" "Oh, I'm here to be. I'm going to be a teacher, and I'm going to be a lawyer." And this guy's like, "I just need a degree to work at McDonald's."
I'm going to flip burgers that make $15.
Oh my God, that's terrible. And to get a degree just to flip burgers, man. Like, for $15 an hour in my town, you can get a job that makes $15 an hour, right? Like there are a couple jobs without a degree. My buddy's a milkman and he makes like between $16 to $18 an hour. So it's possible you can find jobs out there that are like that. But obviously the minimum wage places you're gonna get our minimum wage is what, $7.25, something like that. So yeah, you got places like that. But yeah, if you're getting a college degree and making only $15 an hour, like there's some problems there. You need to.
Well, the project that I was doing down here, when it started, the requirements were the ability to obtain a security clearance and the ability to type more than 40 words per minute. And that started you at like $18 an hour.
So you just needed to be honest and know how to use a computer.
Yeah, that's it. So,
wow.
Those jobs exist. I mean, they are kind of hard to. I mean, that was a unique situation, but those jobs do exist. You can go do that stuff. You don't have to stay at McDonald's.
Right.
Like,
the problem.
If I went back to $8 an hour right now, I'd probably kill myself. Holy shit.
The problem with it is that the people that are working these jobs don't have the resources. So, you know what I mean? They obviously don't have the skill set needed to expand beyond that minimum wage job. Whether it's education, connections within the community, whether if you have a criminal record, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
But they do. It's so easy. It's just...
For us, it's easy. For us, it's easy.
For anyone.
We're smart. But I'm talking about...
The difference, when you put it that way, is that we will actually go look something up. That's all you have to do. You can be a CNA. It is a 3-day course that costs like $150, and you down here, like the starting pay is like $12 an hour.
Right.
To go clean up people's shit. You don't need skills for that.
I do it every day.
Everywhere that you can make decent, over the minimum wage. All you have to do is try. Just try.
I'm my own personal CNA scat. I don't know about you, but I've got the skills necessary to handle it.
When you're 90, you're going to need somebody who's paid to do that for you.
Whatever, it's going to be robots by that time. By the time I'm 90, it's going to be robots.
You will be a robot by that time.
Oh, hopefully, that'd be cool. But wow, we talked about that one longer than I thought we were going to talk about.
We did. In other news, Ben Carson. Where did this guy come from? Because he is now the number 2 Republican Party presidential nominee, according to the recent polls. He's edged out Jeb Bush by about 3%. Jeb has fallen to 3rd. He's sitting at about 9.5. Trump's light is fading at 14.5. And then there's Carson, who's sitting at about 12.5.
You know, this happens when you're this far out from a presidential election. Primary season is kind of like the preseason in NFL. It matters, but it doesn't matter at the same time. You know what I mean? It gives an opportunity for people that more than likely are like second and third string people to actually get out there in the field, suit up, and actually play a little bit. And then, of course, you get to see your team play. So in that aspect, it matters. but it doesn't matter because it's not going to affect your performance in the actual season. Yeah, that's what we're in right now. And then on top of that, you have this rise and fall of candidates because they're vetting them right now. They're not even the candidate. They're just potential. So you have the rise of Trump, which he's starting to taper off now. His momentum is starting to slow down. Now you have people like Ben Carson, who are almost scarier than Trump because he has the look of someone who could be potentially normal if you saw him from a distance, but the moment he opens his mouth, you're like, you're fucking crazy. So that's Ben Carson. So I think that you're going to see him kind of rise up a little bit, and then once people find something to dislike about him, you're going to see another candidate. I heard them talking about Carly Fiorina.
Yeah, she's looking to be the next rising star.
Right. So what you see is these. It's almost like alternating pillars of rising poles. You're going to have a candidate rise and then supernova. Bam. And then what you're going to find is you're going to find that person. It's going to be like a Mitt Romney. It's going to be sitting comfortably in the middle. People lukewarm. People not liking him, but not disliking him either. And then inevitably they're going to be the nominee. What was Jeb Bush sitting at again?
About 9.5%.
Oh, he's polling a lot lower than I thought.
Well, he's getting a lot of flack on his answers to questions. He's being very political, which he's showing a level of intelligence that was missing in his brother, but he's also showing a level of politicality, we'll call it, where he dances around questions and won't answer and won't give how he really feels and change positions and shit. Like,
yeah, I mean it's
even if you were the perfect candidate, you already had a mountain ahead of you overcoming the Bush name with the taste that is in everybody's mouth. But then to come out and make these errors and still have to go up that mountain, not a chance in how he's going to get it.
If I was him, I would have just pulled an Emilio Estevez, because everybody knows he's related to Charlie Sheen. But at the same time, they're like, Emilio Estevez is a million times better. He was in Mighty Ducks, for crying out loud. Yeah. So I mean, like nobody really, they associate Martin Sheen, Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, it took me a second to get what you were getting at there. It's like, oh,
right.
Okay, I get it now.
Right. But then Emilio Estevez is like his own person. Also, like a lot of people don't realize, Francis.
You flying duck.
Ducks. Or no, it's quack.
Quack.
But a lot of people don't realize Francis Ford Coppola, the person who did The Godfather, is like, I think he's like an uncle or like a distant cousin. He's related to Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage's real name is Nicolas Coppola, but he changed his name because he didn't want to be associated with that name, that brand. He said he wanted to make his own steam.
Well, Francis Ford Coppola should be thankful for that.
Yeah.
Shit of an actor.
I know, right? It worked in reverse in that aspect.
He is the one guy that, like, you know what? If he can be an actor, I can do that shit.
Right.
Face off. Face off.
No, this is the thing. There have been theories that have been tried to determine whether Nicolas Cage is a brilliant or a terrible actor, because he has instances where you're like, nobody else could do that. You know what I mean? Like, he's had moments where you're like, holy shit, that's crazy. Nick Cage is insane, but then you see him in other things like Con Air, and you're like, really, man? That's the performance you're gonna give?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's theories out there, but what I was getting at with that, tangent aside, is why didn't Bush just do that? If you want to be different, just change your name. Most of the American people.
You have to do that at the beginning of your career.
Right.
And when he started his political career in Daddy's footsteps, he had no idea that dipshit was going to become the president before that. That wasn't even on the radar. He was still an alcoholic in a field in Texas. He's like, I ain't got to worry about him. I'll take Daddy's name. Well, then he comes along. It's like, the fuck, bro? Why?
Oh my God, that would be the weirdest. That'd be the weirdest like Thanksgiving dinner at the Bush household. So Jeb, what's going on with you lately? Well, I'm,
Well, you remember that bill you
governor.
passed in '06, the HR? Yeah, fuck you for passing that. All right, all right, fuck you. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. Fuck you, George. You know how much of a fucking headache that thing is?
You're messing my life up, George. George's like, can you pass the mashed potatoes? Oh my God. Yeah, it's just like you gotta get the
Oh.
face and the hands. It was the hands. He's talking. Oh.
You're not using enough expressions when you're speaking. Anyways,
Oh man. But that's Ben Carson. He's gonna supernova just like them all. I see him taking over the lead from Trump, but it's not gonna last long.
I can't wait till people start dropping out, so we can start getting some more realistic views of where the loyalties are actually, the votes are actually going to fall. Because anybody, even when we get to the end of it, you know, Trump's sitting at 14%. He could stay at 14%, and by the end of it, he will be completely smoked in votes.
Right.
So,
Well, because they haven't really talked any real policy issues.
yeah.
It's been right now is the kind of chest pumping sort of I'm more Republican than you. I mean, look at
The Bible's my favorite book. I really love it. I love it. It's above the art of the deal. The Bible's my favorite book.
My favorite chapter is with that with the one with the dude he split the waters. That one, you know what I'm talking about?
Did he split them or did he walk on them? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I like the New Testament and the Old Testament equally.
Anyways,
Oh.
it was on the way to Mordor to destroy the ring. That's all I got out of that chapter.
On the Millennium Falcon, I remember that. All right, we're out of
Oh
control.
my God.
So in Kentucky, there has been, you know, this is your story. I'll let you do it.
Oh, okay. Wow. I get the mic again. Whew, hope I don't fail. So, in Kentucky, what was her name even?
Nobody cares. Crazy religious lady.
Crazy religious lady is what we'll call her. Crazy religious lady has been refusing since the Supreme Court ruling that ruled in favor of same-sex marriage as being legal. She has been refusing to issue out marriage licenses in this town in Kentucky to same-sex couples. Now, some couples, one in particular, have sued her in an effort to get the law moving in their favor because it is their legal right by this point to get a marriage license. Well, anyways, it was taken to the High Court, Supreme Court, and everything, and it's been denied. She tried to get a stay on her in case she wanted to do an appeal. She wanted to do the appeal, so she wanted to stay on that until then. The appeal was denied and the stay was denied. So, as of today, she is supposed to be issuing marriage license to same-sex couples. Kim Davis, that's her name. I knew it was something bitchy like that.
What?
If you just look at her, she looks like a goblin.
She looks like a lot of people I grew up in church with.
Yeah. A lot of you went to Goblin Church. Oh, that's crazy.
I didn't say it, but
Oh man, I want to go down there just so I could see that shit. It looked like a room full of hungry hippos.
it's actually I was going through my Facebook yesterday, and for some reason Facebook was showing me all these posts from people I used to go to church with, and it's all these girls that when I was a teenager was like these girls were amazing. It's like, oh, she's fat now. Oh God, she's fat. What happened to her? Like, just this whole list. Like, all right, well, I'm not missing anything there.
Wow, yeah. They filled up with Jesus. That's what happened. We're gonna get ourselves in trouble, man.
We have one viewer and we're gonna lose him if you keep it up.
He's like, delete. Okay. So, anyway, so today she was supposed to be issuing out same-sex marriage licenses, and she has refused to do it, even though that these Supreme Court and everything has said that she must. She has been ordered to issue these licenses. And now she is citing God's authority. Since all the other authority, the authority of the land, has told her that it's not within her constitutional protected right to deny services, now it's God's authority. So now she is potentially facing some hefty fines and some jail time, up to a year, I believe.
As of a couple hours ago, the ACLU has filed a motion in federal court asking a judge to hold her in contempt of court.
Bam. See, that's, you hold her in contempt of court, she pays the fines, or she goes to jail, that sort of thing, or she resigns. That's the other thing that people don't realize. They're like, why don't they just fire her? You can't fire her because she is an elected appointed official. County clerk you vote for. So because of that,
people voted for her. Holy, yeah. There's more wrong with this county than we first realized.
It's not only that, but she took over this position from her mother. Her mother held this position before her for I think something like 35 years or something like that. So it's almost like a dynastic sort of thing, I guess. But so because of that, she has to resign. She can't be fired. So if it's that deep-seated of a belief, like we've actually seen county clerks and stuff like that have resigned because of their deeply held convictions, which is fine. Nobody's telling you can't have those convictions. You just can't hold a public office and then have those and refuse to service people because of those convictions.
What that really comes down to is, and we talked about it last week, we talked about it the week before that, it's discrimination. Any way you slice it, it is discrimination. And we've hit on this briefly, and I'm still your thunder on this. We've hit on this briefly, but we've not really done the topic full justice. Because, you know, it's easy to say something like it's discrimination. You can lump it in with black rights and women's rights and everything else. But all of those movements have their own histories. They have their own reasons why they needed to happen. And a lot of people aren't really talking about why, you know, the progression, the history of the LGBT movement. This isn't something that started in 2002 when, you know, the states started passing all this stuff. This has been going on for nearly 100 years. I mean, this has been ongoing, and it's a, and I hate to use this cliche again because I know we've overused this, but it's something that I truly believe. It is another example of religion, Christianity specifically, when it came to power, perverting things that were completely normal up to that point. I mean, you look up the history of Rome. I mean, there were dudes fucking dudes everywhere. It was perfectly fine. Until...
Right. Ancient Greece?
Yeah, ancient Greece. There's symbols and pottery and depictions of that. And women, too. I mean, it's just what they did. It was considered perfectly fine. Nobody thought twice about it until Christianity got involved. So this isn't something that, you know, God ordained or God said that this has always been. No, it was perfectly fine until Christianity got the power. And then, yeah, we don't like the penis in the butt. We can't have that.
Let's be fair and say that Christianity and Islam is a huge anti-gay.
Yeah, but I draw some issues with Islam's criticism of homosexuality because of their tacit endorsement of it. I mean, we joked that the phrase in Iraq and Afghanistan was, you know, women are for babies, men are for pleasure, because it's rampant. But they do it because they don't view it as being gay. Well, I'm not in love with him. That would make it gay. I'm just fucking him because it's fun. That's not gay. And that's how, unfortunately, a lot of those people view it, rather than just accepting what they like. Like, okay, dude, you might be gay. That's perfectly fine. They can't do that because of what their religion says about it. But they're happy to fucking stone people for looking at their wife.
Oh my goodness.
So that was a bit of a tangent. Let's go on to the real history.
So, of course, if you are new to tuning in, you're wondering what the hell are these crazy people talking about? 'Cause we've kind of deviated a lot throughout the night here, but um, the main topic for tonight, of course, is LGBTQ. We have to throw the Q on there now. Um, Issues within that community, and then also uh, the issues of discrimination that come along with it. Now, when discussing this issue, uh, there have been modes of thought, two modes of thinking, if you will, in regards to uh, perceptions about homosexuality. Of course, you have the conservative, religious-dominated view that homosexuality is a choice, it is a lifestyle, and so forth. And then you have the the opposite of that, which is that it is ingrained within your very identity, your very uh, essence, your very being. And of course, obviously I lean towards the aspect that it is not a choice, that it is something that is within uh, your identity. And the way that you have to address this is through three factors that play into let's three factors. We'll start off with two. So two factors that play into your own your personality and perception. The third factor is going to be your perception of somebody that is homosexual, somebody that is gay. The two factors in particular are of being gay yourself. The first aspect, of course, that comes into this, and of course I'm using this as a way to frame it as not an issue of choice, but an issue of uh, physiological identification. Okay, first is social and cultural engineering. Okay, this is obviously it's not within you innately as your physical being, but a lot of your personality, a lot of your behavior comes and is influenced by social and cultural engineering. Okay, we start off through infancy to adolescence within the basic social structure of family and a very small, tiny community. Okay, that is the sphere of influence that influences your personality in that aspect because you don't have a whole lot of experience outside of that realm, and so your ideas, your thoughts, your beliefs come from that family unit. As you get older, this social cultural construct begins to increase. It gradually grows. When you are in your teenage phases and so forth, you start to be influenced by your peers, the larger aspect of your community. When you get older than that, you leave, you go to college, study abroad, whatever. These things expand that social and cultural identity to where your sensory experiences are incorporated into this Rolodex of knowledge. So how you may have felt about something when you had a smaller community or social interaction or social experience, that now that experience has been expanded to incorporate this other sensory data, you have potentially a different outlook upon this. Now, obviously, when you come from a particular background within a particular type of community, okay, um, you tend to not see too many things outside of that construct. With that being said, even within your own particular community, there may be conflicting ideologies within that community as well. So that is the social and cultural aspect of one's personality and perception. So cognitive function, neurologically speaking, brain function, it's a complex sort of mechanism which we can attribute large part to chemicals within the brain. I don't know how much you know about neuroscience, Scott, but I've been learning about it a lot.
Un poco.
Yeah, I've been learning about it a lot lately, and what a lot of people don't realize is how your brain functions. Certain chemicals cause different reactions within the brain, and how fast these chemicals are transmitted and processed is driven in a large part by your genetic predisposition to that particular process, like your complex motor skills, your ability for fine motor skills, for things like drawing, playing a guitar, something like that. You can learn them. So it's something that you can incorporate into your brain, and your brain actually changes to facilitate that task. But then you also have those that have that innate ability within the brain for that particular task. Um, you also have the talent, innate talents within your neurological makeup and your structure within your brain. You also have things within your brain, these chemical processes that influence your behavior and aesthetic disposition. So Scott, I know I've been kind of hugging the thing, so let me ask you a question. What's your favorite color, Scott?
Orange.
Your favorite color is orange.
It
My
is.
my my favorite color, I actually have two favorite colors. I have black and I have green. I don't know why I like black or green, and you don't know why you like orange. You just like it, right? You think it's aesthetically, it appeals to you.
Yeah.
There's no reason beyond whatever part of your brain is controlling that makes you aesthetically dispositioned to like the color orange. Okay? I use this example a lot when I talk about gender identity and when I talk about LGBTQ issues, in the sense that you may grow up in a household that all they've ever known is the color blue, right? But for whatever reason, you're drawn to the color orange. That's the difference between the social and cultural engineering. Is your social and cultural engineering may engineer you to be predispositioned to the color blue, but your cognitive function draws you to the color of orange. Okay, and that's where we find ourselves in conflict. That's why you find people within the gay community that have grown up in religious type environments, that their social and cultural community is one that is, believes that homosexuality is a sin. But for whatever reason, within their brain, and I got that point in a second here. For whatever reason, they have a different aesthetic, a different their orientation is different. Okay, so that's where you see the difference. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that the hypothalamus in the brain, the portion of the brain, you can look it up in the internet. It exists. I'm not making this stuff up. The hypothalamus in the brain, okay, it, everything contains nuclei, stimulant, all sorts of chemicals and stuff like that, acetylcholine and stuff like that's really present within the brain. In a paper by a neuroscientist named Simon Levy, found that the interstitial nucleus of the hypothalamus, which is INAH3, was found to be dimorphic according to sexual orientation, not gender. So in reference to sexual orientation in this particular function in the brain. And I forgot to mention, the hypothalamus is linked to gender identity and sexual orientation. So what this means, dimorphic means that it's more than one identity for it. Okay, that there's more than one type, more than one type. So these results were obtained through postmortem analysis of hypothalamic nuclei. They took homosexuals and heterosexuals and examined their hypothalamus and determined that their INH3 or INAH3 was different. So what this leads to is that within the brain, your sexual orientation is not something that is choice, but it's something that's predisposition and predetermined in your brain, much like your favorite color, your skin color, which is predetermined not just in your brain, but in your physical genetic appearance, eye color, even your gender, which is all predetermined. Okay, so that's how much of a choice being gay or lesbian or even transgender is. It's within you. For whatever reason, that part of your brain is different. Okay, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means that your body is different. Okay. Now, personality. Now we're going into that third aspect. Your perception of cultural identity defined. Okay, so your perception of those who are homosexual. Okay, that's the third aspect of this that kind of needs to be addressed. Okay, your personality or your perception of cultural identity is defined by by a society of which you're associated with, is what I was kind of alluding in the first aspect of this. When we cross paths with a person or a concept that's outside of this cultural norm, okay, we'll call it a cultural comfort zone, a bubble, if you will. We tend to err on the side of that it's wrong and it's unnatural because we're not used to it. It's something that's outside of what we've come to believe is existence. It's outside of our belief structure. It's outside of our culture, and so it's different. And we tend to not like things that are different. So when it comes to religious beliefs, what religious beliefs are part of that social cultural structure, that construct. Okay, it's part of your cultural upbringing. It's ingrained in your perception of society. You frame your morals, your ethics, your behavior, and so forth on the social cultural upbringing, i.e., religion. So within your community, you may have several different conflicting social cultural identities depending on the size of that community. So, for instance, you may be raised Catholic, and your neighbor may be raised Mormon, and your other neighbor may be raised Jewish. You all have different cultural identities and different beliefs within those identities. Okay, so while your perception is obviously influenced by this, okay, that's what I'm alluding at, and that's why when you are an individual and you agree to this is where we're kind of getting into what we were trying to discuss in the previous podcast. If you enter into the agreement that you want to become a business, okay, you tacitly agree to serve that public regardless of those different social and cultural constructs. Okay, you have acknowledged that because it's okay. My neighbor is Jewish. This one is Catholic. I'm Mormon. Whatever. So because of that, you know that identity is different. So you agree upon that. So the question that I then ask to a lot of people in this sort of scenarios: what if it was reversed? We talk about this in terms of a gay wedding cake. I don't want to make a gay wedding cake, Scott, because it supports gay marriage. Because I'm somehow me making a sweet, delicious cake for somebody to consume is somehow making you complicit in their own social construct. So I say, what if it was reversed? Let's say that businesses were firing, discriminating, refusing services to Christians. How would you feel? And the answer to that is that you would feel disproportionately discriminated and disenfranchised. Look at how Christmas is. If anybody says Happy Holidays to certain Christians, I mean, we had a Kirk Cameron saving Christmas because apparently there's this war on Christmas because you're discriminated against. Okay. That's ultimately what this boils down to. It's just like we were trying to say, it's discrimination. You have the ability to exist within your own social cultural construct, but you don't have the right to then take that social cultural construct and then discriminate against somebody else's social cultural construct based upon that it conflicts with your own. And so that's what it boils down to.
It relates to what we were saying last week with freedoms, but your freedom ends when it crosses the line of infringing on someone else's freedom.
Right.
So you have freedom of speech up to a point, and that point is when you're threatening people. You know,
right.
you can't go around threatening. You can't call fire in a crowded airport. You can't talk about a bomb on a plane. So you have freedom of speech up to that point. So
and then attached to that, because we've already established, if you agree with our information here, that sexual identity, sexual orientation is within the brain itself, that it's a function within the brain, a mechanism, just like your affection or affinity towards a particular color and so forth, and particular objects. Okay, then in skin color. Same thing as skin color. So if you agree with that assumption, then you can then see that it is a civil rights issue, and that much in the same manner as when African Americans and the reason why we needed the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 was because businesses were refusing African Americans based off of their deeply held beliefs. They believed in segregation. I think we had a video a while ago, Scott, wasn't it? Was it like 2 episodes ago? video about when he was arguing for segregation. When he was talking about segregation, but he was citing this as his
Right.
reasons for not supporting gay marriage or so forth,
Right.
and then he
Right.
flipped it on its head. So, yeah, if you can accept that this is part of you, that being gay, being lesbian, transgender is not a choice, that it is something that is ingrained within your physiological and behavioral identity, that you can then accept that it is a civil rights issue and it's the same thing as a black person being refused service at a particular business.
Right. And to back this up a little bit, so I started with the history of homosexuality. Basically, the only reason that is even a discussion today of immorality or whether you're born like that or anything like that is because of what the Christian religion took and did with it, and then Islam just copied off of that. Um, so you have history in general there. Jimmy's given you examples and scientific backed evidence on why it's okay. It's a perfectly natural thing, and that's without even going into the examples and nature of homosexual couples within animals and other species. But to wrap that all together and to throw it again into the context of why does it matter now? You've done a very good job at highlighting some of the things that have been removed from gay couples. Some of the things they're not able to enjoy. But to really put that into perspective, you have to understand how many actions have been taken by the U.S. government specifically to limit their rights. And it is only in the last 5 to 10 years that the government has finally said, okay, this is discrimination, we cannot support this anymore. Because, so taking it back, I said it was almost 100 years. And that's the American gay rights movement, which the earliest known gay rights organization was called the Society for Human Rights. It was founded in Chicago in 1924, so almost 100 years. But they didn't really accomplish much. There wasn't even anything else in the gay rights history until 1948, so 24 years later, almost as old as I am. And that was when Alfred Kinsley published Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, which basically said that homosexuality is far more common than anyone believes that it is. And then you start seeing creations of gay rights organizations. Lesbian rights, the first one was in 1955. It was a national gay rights organization founded in 1951. There was another lesbian organization founded in 1956 that you're starting to see them get organized and start this movement. And it didn't really accomplish anything substantial. What it did do was it raised awareness and it started gathering people to it. And what really, I guess, put it on into the nation's perspective was Harvey Milk. And I'm sure many people have seen the documentary on his life, the movie Milk. Harvey Milk was a city supervisor in San Francisco. He was the first person, first city official to be appointed and to be openly gay. And he ran for an office. He lost by a rather large margin. And shortly after that, he was appointed to an office, which he was then fired from 5 weeks later. And then he was appointed to that office again. And then a couple months later, after being appointed to it, him and the mayor who had appointed him were both assassinated, strictly because he was gay.
And wasn't these firings attributed to his sexual orientation?
They said that he had.
It wasn't personal. It was that he was openly advocating for rights for gay people.
Milk decides, according to this history thing, it basically says he's appointed to it in 1976, becomes the first openly gay city commissioner in the United States. Milk decides to run for California State Assembly, and George Moscone, the mayor, was forced to fire him from the Board of Permit Appeals after just 5 weeks. Doesn't really say anything. And then he lost his second race by like 4,000 votes right after that. Anyways, so he gets assassinated, and that brings this into the national spotlight, so you can really start seeing anything. And that's when it starts getting moved. It really starts getting some support. But then states start passing laws that explicitly discriminate against homosexual people. So many so that many of them had to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had to come back and say, no, you can't do that. One of the first ones was Romer versus Evans, which struck down Amendment 2 for Colorado, which Amendment 2 basically denied gays and lesbians protections against discrimination, called them special rights. And Anthony Kennedy, which is a justice on it, wrote that we find nothing special in the protections Amendment withholds. These protections constitute ordinary civil life in a free society. And that's really the first major win for LGBT rights. And then we go into the 2000s, where we've had you pass, which it became the standard practice. A state passes a law saying that gay marriage is okay, and then they immediately follow that up with an injunction or a stay that says gay marriage is not okay, and then they have to go to the Supreme Court. And this has happened 15, 20, 25 times out of 50 states, which is pretty ridiculous. Where you had this battle, and it's had to be sorted out by the highest court in the nation, saying you people need to stop discriminating against these people. And while all this is going on, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning is the actual 6 letters to it now. Teenagers are killing themselves over this, over discrimination. They are taking their lives rather than to continue to live how they feel that they should be, how they feel inside. They're being subject to getting basically the shit knocked out of them for no other reason than who they would like to be in a relationship with.
Matthew Shepard is a beautiful example of that. Well, it's beautiful. Yep. It's a terrible word. Beautiful in the sense that it highlights the issue very much so. Matthew Shepard was brutally beaten and killed, was murdered for his sexual identity. He was gay, and that's the reason, the motivation behind him being killed. You also figure you touched on the suicide rate. That, of course, talks about the social and cultural identity. They may come from these communities where it's not okay to be gay, where they have gay conversion therapy, where they subject these people to shock therapy. In the early stages of mental health and psychology within this own country, we would do lobotomies, where they would take a sharp device and damage the frontal cortex of the brain, which would render you basically a zombie. And they did a lot of these.
The American Psychiatric Association classified homosexuality as a mental disorder until 1973.
Right, and for a large part of our history, this is what was being done to people that were gay, homosexuals. They would take a thing and they would swipe, and then you basically became a vegetable, a walking zombie.
If you have not seen what a lobotomy is, I strongly encourage you to go look it up, because it is barbaric in the most basic of senses. It is how we could ever have thought that was a good idea.
It's horrific. And to think that was done because of a lifestyle choice that was outside of the social cultural norm for you for that particular time is even more appalling. And then on top of that, we haven't really hit on this yet, Scott, but I know you were alluding to it. Even today, there are states right now where you have legal discrimination of LGBTQ individuals. You can be fired from your job. I think I saw in John Oliver the other night that a couple was a lesbian couple. The pediatrician refused to treat their son because they were lesbian and he didn't agree with their lifestyle choice. Of course, the couple then argued, okay, we're gay, my son is not, he deserves treatment, he needs treatment, and you're going to refuse it to him. He essentially broke the Hippocratic Oath. And what this boils down to And the reason why we're addressing all of these issues of discrimination, basically framing out the argument of that this is a civil rights issue, is that what is taking place right now is, I'm sure you've heard it, Scott, that special rights, gay people are asking for special rights, more rights. You know what I mean? That somehow they get magical rights that are more than us normal hetero people. No, they're trying to undo a lot of these discriminatory practices of the past. They're trying to fix these sorts of things and get the same equal rights that we have. That's why it's called equal rights. There's no extra rights to it. You know.
To really, I guess, put this in a common sense term, if you were to take all of the arguments that have been presented, all of it, and you simply change one phrase, instead of talking about LGBT, let's insert the phrase Christian. Christianity is not a normal choice. Christians should not be allowed to marry. Christians, I will not bake a cake for a Christian. I will not give medical services to a Christian because of my faith. My faith is Islam. And in Islam, we don't like Christianity. It is my religious freedom to discriminate against you as a Christian, to deny you as a Christian service because you are a Christian. It is the exact same argument. There is zero differences. We look at these practices, and we looked at the Islam countries that are actually that are denying things because people are Christians, persecuting Christians because their Islamic faith doesn't agree with it, and we call them barbaric. We're outraged. We can't believe that they would embrace such Iron Age, beliefs in today's modern society. Yet we're doing the exact same thing in this country to the LGBT community. There is zero difference. I don't care how you slice it. I don't care what spin you put on it. There is not a difference.
Right.
It is not right, and it needs to be fixed.
And that's and a lot of people, you're spot on. First of all, I couldn't have put it better myself. Yes. What you have is this notion that somehow religious freedom means that you can openly display that religion, that belief, but then when it comes to these other beliefs, somehow they are not afforded the same sort of luxury. For instance, how many menorahs do you see getting lit up at Times Square? How many menorahs do you see lit around the country for Hanukkah? Nothing. How many Hanukkah specials?
Talking about the society that has faced the most discrimination in history, let's talk about the Jews. Holy shit! That's a whole new level of discrimination, but that is a topic for another time.
What that? I love. Part of my focus in history, Scott, is Holocaust studies, World War II. I love World War II history.
Not even Holocaust, though. I mean, that's the recent, but that's just another example in a long line.
Which the Nazis, believe it or not, and okay, let me give you. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Okay, so in World War II, right, the Nazis conducted experiments in forced sterilization of homosexuals within the community. Not Jews, homosexuals. Okay, they experimented on them. Now, in the United States, there was a policy. If I get the Google machine here, forced sterilization of homosexuals within the United States. I want to see if I can pull up an exact date on this. So if you got a thought, Scott, while I'm Googling.
No, just I think this would be a good point to wrap up. We're already 10 minutes over, so I figured this topic deserved a little bit of extra time. We keep having one viewer, then we lose them, so.
They're probably teetering on the brink of offended, and then, oh, I agree. Offended. Oh, okay, I agree. Okay, forced sterilization. The United States was the first country to concertedly undertake compulsory sterilization programs for the purpose of eugenics. Okay, this took place. These sterilizations took place in the first state to introduce compulsory sterilization bill was in Michigan in 1897, but the proposed law failed to pass. 8 years later, Pennsylvania state legislator passed a sterilization bill that was vetoed by the governor. So there have been moments of our history where they have tried to force sterilization on not just homosexuals, mentally disabled, a lot of different messed up stuff. So when Hitler came along with it, he was learning it from us. That's the scary part. Is a lot of the stuff he kind of got from us. Can you believe that? Can you believe that somebody that seems number one, it's backwards, because the last person you need to sterilize is somebody who's not going to copulate with somebody who is of the opposite gender, right? You can't have a baby. You can't make a baby with two of the same gender. It's not possible. So why sterilize them? Makes no sense. But we did it, and it just shows the dehumanization that our country, the policies of our country, had towards LGBTQ individuals. It's insane. So, if anything, what should be addressed here is homosexual people, LGBTQ individuals, and there's actually, I think there's a lot more designations than that nobody talks about. There's something like 60, some crazy number like that of designations of sexual and gender identity. I would love to get somebody on here that's transgender, Scott. We should start befriending some transgender people. Just because I want to hear, that's one of the parts of the community that I am not as familiar with, and I would love to learn more.
A personal experience of mine. One of the girls that I went to church with that actually popped up in that newsfeed I was going through. I knew her when she was about 8 years old, and I think I was like 16 at the time. This was a beautiful girl, long blonde hair, like down to her knees, the apostolic way. She would get up in church and she would sing and just. She would laugh and joke. I mean, she was just the cutest kid ever. She ended up growing up and realizing that she was gay. And she actually came out and told her parents and everything. And they literally kicked her out of the family. And it's not even until the last probably 6 months that her family has even started speaking to her again. And this was years ago that she did this. That's the kind of stuff that... we can talk about the cakes and the other stuff, but that stuff really needs to be stopped.
Imagine the emotional impact that would have on an individual. Obviously, now, one of the other things that I did want to talk about is just because of your particular persuasion, people are people. So you can be straight, you can be gay, you can be transgender, and you can still be an asshole. You can be an asshole. Does it mean that is a in direct correlation with your specific identity? It just means that you're an asshole who happens to be of this identity. So when I hear people go, well, this gay person openly flaunts his gayness. Okay, he openly flaunts his gayness. I don't.
Yeah, but how many Christian people openly flaunt their Christianity?
Right, but what I'm saying is just because you met somebody that is a particular way, it's not representative of an entire community. And just because it's like when you take a poll or a survey, you have to get a large group of people to get a more accurate consensus. So if you've met like 3 gay people in your entire life, you can't base an entire community off of 3 gay people. I can't base an entire community off the gay people I've met because I haven't met enough of them. So simply applying that on there is absurd, and I've heard that argument a lot. I have no problem with. I'm not saying this is me. I'm saying this is somebody else. I have no problem with gay people as long as they're not hitting on me. Okay. I have been to gay bars and not been hit on once. So what does that tell you? It means that individual that creeps you out, they hit on you, that means they're a creep or whatever.
Take it
Or
as a compliment. You're obviously doing something right.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Me personally, like I'm like if I go to the gay bar and I don't get hit on at least once, I'm like, man, I must be ugly. There's like 80 people in here. 80 people don't find me attractive. Not one of
A
them.
lot of the argument, one of the arguments I hear all the time, because it's from a very close family member, is that I don't have a problem with gay people. I just don't know why it has to be, why does it have to be out there so much? Like, why
Right,
do we have
yeah.
to talk about it so much? It's like, if they just go live their lives, I'm fine with it. They can do whatever they want. So that's
Well, that goes
there's
into
so many things wrong with that.
yeah. Well, that goes into that social cultural construct. If you're an individual who's grown up in an environment to where that part of your identity has been suppressed for so long, and then now you find a community that not only accepts you for that identity, but is proud that you have that identity, wouldn't you want to flaunt that? You finally can express yourself in such a way that you don't have to hold back. I highly recommend every single person in this world to go to a gay pride parade at least once. It is the most jubilant, vibrant thing on the planet. There's a lot of G-strings and a lot of things you probably never thought you'd see in your life, but it is the most celebratory thing you could possibly imagine. It's because for once they're able to stand out in public and say, "This is who I am. My family kicked me out. My church disowned me. My community won't even let me go to the grocery store because of deeply held discriminatory beliefs. And yet, here I am, this community accepts me." That's why that identity's flaunted so much. It's just, bam, here I am. I'm pretty sure, I guarantee you, like, the amount of, like, it bothering you, the more you just accept it. You know what I mean? Like, that's Bob. He likes, he likes, he likes.
Putting penises in his mouth. Why? It doesn't matter. Why are you concerned with what he does with penises? Do
Right.
you put penises in your mouth? Do you enjoy it? Well, then it doesn't matter. It
It's
doesn't
kinda
matter
like
whether you enjoy it or not.
It's kind of like if you're at work, right? You're at work. Okay, Bob is really good at his. He's really good at getting his TPS reports in on time. He's really good at making sure that he shows up to work on time. He's always presentable. He's always friendly.
And he loves those Pin 15 reports.
Yeah, he's that's a clever one. I just capped that. But the thing about it is, then you negate all of that, all those qualifications. You deny that person his job because of the one thing that has no bearing on his ability to do that job, which is his sexual identity. And that's what's wrong with this situation. That's why it needs to be fought. That's why it needs to be discussed. Because until that person doesn't get fired for who he loves, then it's going to be an issue.
And that is why we have discussed it on Pompously Political. Thank you for joining into the discussion. If you have thoughts and opinions on this, let us know. Hit us up on the tweet machine at Polypompous. Jimmy would love to tweet you back. That's not my thing, but Jimmy will tweet you all frickin' day.
Tweet.
We also have our website at polypompous.com. Go on there. There's been some posts already about gay rights, LGBT rights, and the movements, as well as all the other topics that we have there. Feel free to leave your opinion. Let's get into a discussion. Let's talk about it. The whole reason we're having this discussion is because of listener feedback. Said we need to clarify a bit more on this. They just weren't getting it, and we're happy to do that. That's what we're here for. Let us know. Give us some feedback. Let us know that you're listening and that what your opinions are. Everybody's entitled to them, regardless of how dumb they might be.
For sure. Well, the other thing is I'm of the mindset that if you disagree with me, that's fine. Disagree as much as you want. I just want to make sure that there's clarification as far as what my position is, and I'm sure Scott would love his position to be clarified as well. So when things like this, when you give us feedback about a particular issue that you may not agree with, don't take it as that we are. Don't take it in a condescending sort of way. It is our way of expressing this is why we believe what we believe, and this is why we portray it this way on our show. There's a lot of thought that goes into what Scott and I both say. Like, we're both Scott just recently graduated, so congrats to him. I know we haven't.
I still got like 5 days left. It was an early
Whatever.
congratulations, but thank you.
Whatever. 5
I won't
days.
be graduated
5
by the
days.
time we do this again.
5 days. Come on. You could skip out on 5 days and it wouldn't even matter.
I
You
could
be
do
like-
nothing. I could do nothing at all this week, and I'd still graduate.
So he's Scott's credentialed at this point. And then, I'm going to school as well, and I should be finishing up by spring, so that'll be exciting. But the thing is we go to school, and we've expanded our social and cultural identities, our community, and expanded and incorporated a lot of these other ideas. And this is just the ideas that make sense to us. So I understand.
While this show may be largely off the dome, this isn't stuff that we're just thinking of just now. I mean, I don't know about you, Jimmy, but I spend a lot of time thinking about issues like this, just trying to analyze differing viewpoints to really understand what people are saying. And a lot of times I get it. I'm pretty good at seeing multiple viewpoints, but there's some that are just so dumb that it's hard to understand how anyone could believe in the way that they believe. But this is stuff, like you said, we do think about this a lot. And we try to bring that to you in our hour and 22-minute episode now. Once again, thank you for joining. We are going to cut it here, though. You got anything else, Jimmy?
Oh, just thank you for listening, one person out there. And
It's probably your wife.
whatever, she just texted me while we were talking. It was like, I'm bringing pizza home, so she's not listening. She's buying pizza right now. But to that one person, and to the people that may be listening to this later in the week, I know there's a couple that were interested in listening to this. Have yourself a week. Enjoy yourself.
Take care. Keep thinking.